Our next speaker, talked about him for about half an hour, but to keep it short, um, Dr. Taher calls himself a resurgent physician, and you will understand why. He's a speaker. He's given talks on AMA and AARP publications, and he's an advocate for whole food and plant-based living and proponent of fighting chronic illness through nutrition. And personally, has survived open heart surgery to become an adventurer. He scaled Mount Kilimanjaro and Mount Kailash base camp, and he's hyperactive in sports, including marathon running. Dr. Feldman is a sprinter, while Dr. Taher is a marathon runner. And he has authored a book called Open Heart that shares his transformative health journey. And all of the proceeds from the sales of these books he donates to charity. And he also holds monthly discussions on hypertension, diabetes, etc. So it gives me great pleasure in introducing Dr. Akil Taher.
My topic is going to be heart resilience. So, what is heart resilience? See, heart resilience is the ability of the heart to withstand and recover from physiological stressors, be it physical exertion, emotion, or it can be after a cardiac event like a heart attack or a major heart surgery. It is imperative for patients who have a major heart surgery to follow a heart healthy lifestyle so that they can increase the resilience of their heart. So, when we talk about resilience, let's talk about a healthy heart's resilience. So, what is your heart? Your heart is the size of a fist, and it beats 100,000 times in a day, pumping 2 gallons of oxygen rich blood to every organ and every tissue in your body through 50 million miles of arteries and veins. So if you take a guy like me who's 76, my heart has already beaten more than 3 billion times. So, how do we protect this jewel that is lying in the chest cavity? Well, we have coronary arteries. We have got the right coronary artery, the left one, and the one going behind. These crown the heart. But to understand the coronaries on supplying the blood to the heart, we need to understand the cross section of a coronary artery. So here is your coronary artery. Your endothelium is the inner lining which produces a very powerful substance, nitric oxide, which keeps the artery dilated, keeps the blood flowing into the lumen, and protects the arterial wall so that it is elastic and it is supple, does not harden up to cause high blood pressure. But folks, what happens when you have an unhealthy diet? Say, for example, the standard American diet of meat, eggs, dairy, processed food, or for that matter, to have a junk food, vegan, or vegetarian diet with your saturated fats and sugars and dairy. Well, what really happens is that there's a damage to the endothelial lining. And once this is damaged, the bad actors from the shadows come out to play now. This is your fibrin, your calcium, and cholesterol, which will now come and start forming plaques. And if they form plaques over here, for example, for years it takes to form a plaque, and you can get angina when you have chest pain on exertion, or if the breakage of a friable plaque, and then you can have a heart attack and 50% of the people die of a first heart attack. So here comes my story. I am a 76-year-old physician, but I'm also a heart disease survivor. See, till the age of 61, I created my own unhealthy lifestyle. I indulged into terrible foods. I was at one point, without worrying about what effect it would have on my health. And I was once called a seafood eater, SEE. I ate everything at sight. And what I would do is I was working very hard, long hours, with very little sleep, 4 to 5 hours max, and that to a fractured sleep, not a restorative sleep. And when I was not eating what was in front of me or not working hard, what did I do? I was a couch potato. I did absolutely no exercise. Sorry, I may have done exercise for my hand muscles using the remote to change the TV channels. All this led to a tremendous amount of stress, chronic stress that I could not handle. And so I was not surprised when heart disease came knocking at the young age of 56. And two of my arteries were 98 to 99% blocked. I had to have stents. And when the stents failed, I had to have open heart bypass surgery. Now, this is where my transformation takes place. I told the nurses in the ICU that I would do a half marathon in a year's time if all goes well. I really don't know why I said that at that particular time, but I guess I had very few options left. So when I woke up, my recovery was remarkable. I was on the treadmill on the third day. I started eating right. I started exercises, running, and I started incorporating meditation, yoga, and breathing exercises into my daily routine. And in 7 months, I managed to do a half marathon. It took me 3.5 grueling hours, but I did it. My bruised heart did not fail me. From then on, there was no stopping. I've done several marathons. As Ram said, I've climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. I've done a 100-mile bike ride. I've bungee jumped, and so on and so forth. But at the same time, I was also thinking, I was wondering that is there a way that I can heal my body without solely relying on medications and invasive surgery? That is when I came across the 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine. And that the cornerstone of this lifestyle medicine is your healthful eating. And the rest of them complement the healthful eating. Your physical activity, your restorative sleep, your handling of stress, your avoiding substance abuse, and forming and maintaining relationships. So let's take each one at a time. I would prefer that Americans should have much more regarding fruits and vegetables, grains, beans and lentils as a protein, the plant protein, nuts and seeds. They should increase their fiber in their diet. I mean, an average American eats 15 grams of fiber. You need at least 38, but I would say go in for 60 and 70. It did me a lot of good. I had diverticulitis with perforation. Now it is in the back burner. So what should a person do? Look at labels. If you cannot pronounce something, don't eat it. Avoid processed foods, salt coloring agent. Cut back on your sugar and salt. An average American takes 17 teaspoonfuls of processed sugar and salt, 3.6 grams of salt. When the American Heart Association says 2.5, well, I would say go back to about 1.5. Avoid junk vegan and vegetarian food. All this, dairy and sweets and oils, and reduce your cholesterol by, avoiding meat, saturated fats. Avoid dairy products if you can. Or as somebody once said, that dairy is like liquid meat. If you have a cup of milk, it is the same saturated fat and cholesterol as an ounce of meat. And then avoid trans fats, vegetable oils chemically altered to stay solid at room temperatures, like what you have your palm oil or your coconut oil. And remember, folks, if you're going to be plant based, remember to take your B12 and your vitamin D. Next comes physical activity. Any activity is better than no activity. But you have two different kinds of activity. One is your general physical activity, where you burn calories, you increase your endorphins, you feel good. That's great. That's like gardening or walking in the park or playing golf. But there is a purposeful exercise. And this should be in combination. But purposeful exercise reduces your blood pressure, your weight, it improves your insulin resistance, it reduces your cardiovascular disease risk of that, and increases your good cholesterol. So, what in that case, you have to do 30 minutes of exercise daily, moderate intensity, and you should be able to reach 70% of your maximum heart rate, at least in those 20 minutes of that 30 minutes of exercise. And it should not be only endurance exercise or aerobic exercise. It should also incorporate muscle strengthening exercise, especially for older people. And that is what I always tell people, that your muscle strengthening exercises are important. Your wall push-ups, your ground floor push-ups, and then you have your balance exercises, standing on one leg, tying your shoes, or putting on your shoes, on standing up. These walking on your toes, walking on your heels, and then finally it is your stretching exercises. And I kid you not. When I started doing my Surya Namaskar or the sun salutation, that gave me the stretch like no other exercise has given me. But that said, that works for me. It may not work for you, but give it a try. The third thing, which is very important, which so much of research has been done, I can talk to for an hour on sleep. Sleep is your superpower. It is a non negotiable biological necessity. Sleep is not the absence of wakefulness. It is an Sleep is an active state of rest where your brain does phenomenal things for your health. Now, you're supposed to sleep 7 to 9 hours of nightly sleep, and that too a restorative where you have your REM sleep and your non-REM sleep. How much did I do? 4 hours, and that was fractured sleep. Now, there's a Japanese study that has been done for about, I think, 14 years. And what they found that if you sleep less than 6 hours a night on a routine basis, then your chances are 3 to 4 times more of getting your heart rate increase, your blood pressure increase, and dying of a sudden cardiac death. Now, hear me over here. Just 1 hour makes a difference. And this is a global experiment done in how many countries? In 70 countries, it is done. And it is done on 1.5 billion people. And what is it? Daylight savings. In spring, when you lose an hour, you know what happens? There is 23% increase in heart attacks the very next day. And in autumn, when you start gaining an hour, there's 21% reduction in heart attacks. Isn't that absolutely incredible? Sleep is truly your superpower. So when you want to do just 4 rules of sleep, go to bed only when you're sleepy. The analogy is you don't go to the dining table and you sit down over there waiting to get hungry. So why should you wait to get sleepy? Only use the bed for sleep and sex, not for your TV and not for your phones and messaging. If you can't fall asleep within 15 to 20 minutes, get out of the bedroom, go around, do something else like massage, read a book, listen to music, meditation, and then come back when you're ready to sleep. And sleep and get up at the same time. It is important even on weekends. You're not going to, if you sleep late, you're not going to make up the weekday sleep. So be careful about that. And, early afternoon naps helps, short naps. Now we go on to the next thing, stress. What is basically stress? Stress is defined as a state of worry or mental tension caused by a difficult situation. And this is chronic stress, where your cortisol levels increase and you start eating more and you get obese and you get diabetic and you get sleep apnea. Your chronic stress is caused by what? The 4Ds. Either you are in debt, divorce, disease, or death. So for this, you do need crutches like your meditation. It can be religion. It can be your yoga. It can be breathing exercises, and sometimes you may require medicine, and you may help of a psychotherapist or a psychiatrist. And the next one is avoidance of risky substances. Tobacco, everybody knows. If you are drinking for health reasons, forget it. It does nothing for your health. But if you're drinking responsibly, I'm not here to stop you. But it does no good for your health, no increase of your good cholesterol or anything like that. Now, where I'm worried about is prescription and non prescription medicines. I mean, think about it. Look at the fentanyl crisis, the cocaine, the amphetamines, the pain meds, hydrocodone, oxycodone. I see these patients. Once they're hooked, they're gone on. And over the counter medications. Can you imagine? I had a patient recently who walked in. He was having Motrin, ibuprofen, six. He was taking 2 tablets. I mean, 6 tablets in the morning, 6 tablets in the afternoon, and 6 tablets in the evening. So he was taking it for 35 years. He came to me with kidney failure, with his heart problems, and with ulcers. So be careful about over the counter medication too. And finally, social support. Folks, social connectedness in a blue zones. We have blue zones in Japan, we have one in Italy, we have one in Costa Rica, and one is there in California, your side. Now, what do these people do? They laugh together, they play together, they watch movies together, they exercise together, and they have a strong social bond, these people in the blue zone, which leads to lower levels of stress and anxiety, which lowers the blood pressure and improves heart health. One last thing. This was an observational study done by Dr. Dean Ornish. The importance of plant-based diet. There were 35 people who were in severe heart failure. Ejection fraction was very, very low, and they were waiting for a heart transplant. All of them were put on a whole food plant-based diet, no oil, sugar, or salt. Guess what? All of them improved the quality of life, and 5 of them did not require surgery. So, folks, if you follow the 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine, you are going to be reasonably okay to avoid a heart disease, to treat a heart disease, and in some cases, reverse a heart disease. Thank you so much.